It has been a while since Chrysalis has been reformed, but she decided to keep her old form even where her kind have getting the new form. But this time she had decided not to be back as a queen. In fact, even she has been reformed, she decided it was time for her to travel around the Equestria to maybe find her own place to stay. Because when she got reformed by Starlight and Twilight, for some reason she didn't felt home anymore in the old kingdom. Even her subjects, their fellow changelings, had offered her a place in the kingdom. She's tried to stay there, but after all this had changed, she didn't felt home there anymore. She told King Thorax that she are going to leave the kingdom. Not because she didn't hate it. She just didn't felt home anymore. And she wanted to find her own place to live. And they all understood, but she promised to keep in touch as often as she could. And before she left the kingdom, she went to Crystal Empire. She was going to ask Cadence for some help. Cadence was a bit surprised to see Chrysalis back in Crystal Empire after so soon time. There, they just mostly talked about what Chrysalis wanted to do. And Chrysalis had asked Cadence if she had any advice what to do, where to go, or some things. Cadence just told her, listen what your heart says. And if this says that you will stay in one place or you like just to continue to travel. And but you should always remember you have always friends no matter where you go in Crystal Empire, in the Ancient Kingdom, or on other places. And Chrysalis thanked her for her advice. So the next day, she left the Crystal Empire for the unknown. She traveled from city to city, village to village, town to town. But every time she went to a small town, she didn't feel any home there. But the most towns she did travel to were only small towns, like Pony. Some of the cities of the towns were had a small population, from a couple of hundreds to maybe 1,000 ponies. She once visited a maid Haddon, but even there she didn't feel more home either. So she decided to travel around. But for most times she spent her time in the wilderness, or at least in the forest. She was camping most of the time, and since she got used to being camping, she decided maybe that was a part of her life now to be like a nomad, traveling around without having any permanent home. Around the same time, a, bla- a pig-design by the name Black Tornado who lived in Trottingham. He was working as a local gardener in his hometown. He was very heartbroken. For about a month earlier, his longtime girlfriend broke up with him. After that, he had found out. Actually, he broke up with her after he had found out. For about 6 months, he had found out that she had been cheating on him in secret. But he was really heartbroken on this. So he decided he couldn't give her a second chance after being together for nearly 5 years. After all of this happened, though, she left town with the stallion she had been cheating on, because they wanted a new life, something better. And of course, Black Tornado, he didn't mind staying back in Trondheim. Even after all this happened, he almost shutting off on himself, cut any connections to friends and family. But if it wasn't for his mother, she told him that leaving, cutting all contacts with friends and family was not the right thing to do. What his ex-girlfriend did against him was something that cannot be forgiven. And he agreed with that. But he asked his parents to leave him alone for at least a while. And they accepted that his request. So for the next couple of months after all of that happened, he had decided maybe it was time to maybe find somebody else. But he didn't know how to do it, since he hadn't been in a long-term relationship for 5 years. He had were a little bit ring rust. He was a little bit rusty in dating. Some of his friends maybe asked him if he would try speed dating, or even some of them actually set up some dates with some friends of them. And of course, he did actually went on dates on them, but some of them weren't something, it wasn't his type, or some were a little bit unusually had something he didn't feel connected to any of the particular ponies. So one day when he was working, he was just talking to another fellow colleague, another coworker, about his dating. His friend had actually previously been set up a male friend of him, a male friend of him, to Black Tornado, and that they been that particular friend, male friend, and Black Tornado had been dating for about 2 weeks, and it seemed to be going well between them. Until that the mayor said that she didn't want to date him anymore because she had fallen in love with another stallion. And of course, Black Tornado took it quite well, and for now he tried to focus on his work. But one day, when he was at work, he noticed there was some pony, or at least some creature, in the park. He didn't see who it was, but then he saw it wasn't a pony. It was a changeling, but not the new forms they have. And he immediately recognized it was the former Queen Chrysalis. But he knew that she was reformed, and he actually walked up to her, asked her if she needed something. And before she could say anything, he could actually hear her stomach was growling of hunger. And since she still needed to feed on love, but she can still embrace love as normally. And now that they discovered that she can also eat normal food. So Black Tornado had just taken lunch break and asked her if she wanted maybe have something to eat. He could share his food with her, and she just surprised to see that he was willing to give some of his own lunch to her. And it turns out she hadn't been eating for almost 2 days, and she accepted it. So while they were eating, they were using small talk, mostly about what she had been doing up to lately, and she told him about her travels, and that she's looking for some place to stay, that something that she can call her as her own home. Even that she didn't know where to go, only that her heart was telling her to travel. And even Black Tornado, he felt sorry for her. So he then asked her if she would like to stay at his apartment. She was a bit surprised, and even she didn't know how to react first. But she tried to say that that was not necessary. But he said, at least I can do let you stay there for a while. You don't have to pay for the rent or anything, just you can stay as long as you want it. And of course, Chrysalis. She had no idea what to do, so she decided to stay there. When she came to his apartment, though, she was a bit surprised to see how clean it was, and it was big enough. So actually, two bedrooms. She could have her own bedroom, and even though that same evening, he even cooked them some dinner, and they small talked some more. And then she asked him if some other pony had lived there before her. He was silent and said, "Yes, my ex-girlfriend used to live here with me for only a few months ago. Tells it was until I discovered that she had been cheating on me with that stallion, so we broke up. Since then, I have been living here myself." She was surprised, but honestly, she didn't know what to say, considering that he was true honest to her, feeling so open about his true purpose, his heart, and how he'd been heartbroken. And for one reason, when he said that, she felt her heart was beating a bit faster, feeling more warm inside. At first, she didn't thought much about it, but even after all this happened, all of his generosity, letting her stay as long as she wanted, even having her own room, not have to pay any rent. And the next day, though, he had tried to ask her if she would stay with him as long as she wanted, and maybe if she wanted, he could even try to find her as a work. And that did actually surprise her, because she had never been actually in a work before. And since she had no idea what her true purpose could have been, so, and even then, like Tornado, he asked around a few friends nearby in the area if they were looking for anyone to hire, and a few several places didn't need anyone to hire. But one friend of him, who lived in a small apartment, but still owned a flower shop, only 2 blocks from Black Tornado's apartment, said that he probably would need any help at his flower shop. So Black Tornado then told his friend that he was looking for help to find some work for his friend. And then his friend asked who that particular friend were. And Black Tornado mentioned that was actually Chrysalis. And his friend was a bit scared. But since all the public in the question knew that Chrysalis was reformed, but his friend was willing to give Chrysalis a chance to at least show it, to prove it. So Chrysalis went to the next day to this flower shop, even though that his friend, Black Tornado's friend, were a little bit skeptical how she will be able to handle all this. And she said to him that she was willing to give this new work at least a chance to prove that she can handle it. And for next couple of days though, ponies who walked in there saw Chrysalis, but some of them were a bit scared. But when they saw how open she were, how kind she were, how sweet she were to the customers, always smiling, even offered help, and when she couldn't help them for what they're looking for, she asked her boss, and the boss see then how much effort she actually paid in her work. And soon enough, she was actually one of the best employees that particular stallion had. And around the same time, Black Tornado had been start dating again. But sadly, some of those dates didn't last for maybe 2 or 3 days. Even some of his friends still tried to put him up for blind dates or even speed dating, but he didn't pay much attention into any of those. But there were one of those other places he did went on a date. He was dating this particular mare, and he actually felt connected to her. And they started dating even more. And it was looking that to almost be serious between them. And one day when Chrysalis came home after from work, he actually found her in the living room, just talking, having some tea, and he's in Black Tornado's girlfriend, the new one. She knew about that Chrysalis lived with Black Tornado as a roommate, which at first she were mostly against. But after getting knowing Chrysalis a bit more sometimes when she came over, they became good friends, and she had no idea, she didn't mind that Chrysalis lived. And of course, even course of time after almost a year, even Chrysalis has started falling in love with Black Tornado. But at the same time though, Black Tornado has been dating this particular mare, Shiny Rose, for almost a year. And that's it almost getting serious between them. But then something did happen. Shiny Rose told Black Tornado she had been offered a big opportunity for work in Manhattan. And she told him that she could only work there if she lived in Manhattan. And she wanted him to move with him to Manhattan so they can stay there for a bigger apartment and maybe to even perhaps maybe take to the next level. Perhaps like marriage, family of their own. Even Black Tornado wanted to move, but he preferred living in Trondheim since it was his birth home. He was born there, and he was raised in that particular town his whole life. He had many friends and family who lived there, and he has a great job. And even he were trying to find when they talked about considering moving together to Manhattan. At first, he didn't mind to do that, but to do so, he had to quit his job in Trondheim and find another work in Manhattan. And since he only likes to do gardening works, so he looked in the garden shops or at least parks that had tried to hire any particular ponies. But there were no ponies that were going to be hired. So he thought maybe looking at some flower shops or anything in the area, but none of the shops didn't hire. And since he tried to maybe then Shiny Rose made mention that why don't you try to look for some other particular works, maybe work in a food store or maybe something else. And he decided maybe that wasn't an idea to do, since he has been living as a gardener for many years. And that was his true purpose, his true passion. So they decided there was maybe not worth to be together. So they decided to just to break up and leave. And also shortly, Shiny Rose moved to Manhattan, and that was the last time he ever saw her. And even the Black Tornado was happy that she was happy to live in Manhattan. He felt heartbroken. So one of his friends decided maybe put up for another date. But he said no. I decided maybe to focus to be myself for a moment. And around the same short time after all this happened, one day though, when Black Tornado was standing in the kitchen and Chrysalis was in the living room just reading a book when a knock on the door. And none of them had actually expected any visitors. So Chrysalis opened the door, and outside the door was actually Black Tornado's ex-girlfriend. Not Shiny Rose, but his previous one before her. That one who cheated on him. She was surprised to see Chrysalis there, and she asked her who she were. She knew why she was doing there, and Chrysalis said that she was just Black Tornado's roommate. And but just a second later, Black Tornado showed up, and he saw it was actually her. What are you doing here? And she said that she wanted him back. She realized her big mistake to be cheating on him, that she still loves him. But then he said, we were together for 5 years, and you go cheating behind my back for almost a month until I find out, and you expect me to forgive you, and take you back? Please, I love you, she said. No, I don't want to take you back. Why not? Cause I am in love with someone else. And she just looked at him and asked, who? Chrysalis. That surprised even Chrysalis. And then he kissed her. She's my girlfriend. You should go. You will find somebody else to live with. Please, just go. I don't want to see you anymore. Please. And she was just speechless, and she didn't say anything, just left. He closed the door, and he turned around and saw Chrysalis standing and looking at him with a big shocked face. Chrysalis, are you okay? She didn't speak, and even didn't move. It was like she was in a shocked state. Chrysalis, are you okay? He asked me with a stronger tone. She looked at him and smiled and said, yeah, that kiss, though, surprised me. That's all. And she walked away to her room. She was standing at the door inside her room. She could not really understand it. Did he actually love her? Or was it just some act saying that so that he wouldn't take her back, his ex-girlfriend? But she didn't go outside to ask him about it. Not even during dinner, but for the next couple of days. It was like everything was back to normal, if like something never happened. But one evening, though, as they were sitting in the living room, just didn't do much either. Then she brought up this particular topic up, just randomly, asked him if she if that he really meant, but that he actually loved her when she kissed her. He looked at her, a bit confused, but then before he could say, she asked him. She asked him if this was something that only to make his ex-girlfriend to leave, or he actually meant it. She just was curious. She would just like to know, and surprised that he didn't respond to that. Then he asked, "Why do you ask me that?" She then blushed and said, while looking at the floor, that she had a crush on him. She had it for a while now, even since when he was dating Shiny Rose. He didn't mention it to him by then, because as they was looking forward to be more serious between them. And even after they broke up, she thought maybe to tell him, but she decided not to until now. And she told him, though, that she understands if he doesn't even love her the same way. But before he could answer, she walked back to her room, locked the door, and was silent. The next morning, when Black Tornado woke up, he found the apartment silent. He thought maybe that Chrysalis was still back and sleeping in her bed, so he didn't pay much attention. So he acted on, but around noon, she still haven't even came out from her room to eat breakfast. So he walked up to her room, knocked on the door, and asked if she was okay, and felt the door was unlocked, but the room was empty, except from a letter on the bed. He wrote, apparently, Chrysalis had left the apartment in the middle of the night, and without saying it to him. She wrote to him, Dear Black Tornado, I understand if you don't love me as I feel for you, and to be honest, I had loved you for a while, and even you know that by now, I won't force you to be with some pony like me, and if you want to find some other pony to be with, I just would be happy for you. So for that, I decided maybe it was time to me to move and perhaps find some place on the state to stay. And where I will go, probably back to the changing kingdom. Your friend, Chrysalis. Reading this was something that he didn't expect. Even then, he realized he had fallen in love with Chrysalis, and he didn't tell her that. And before he could do anything, he went to his room, took a bag, some food, and some money, and left the apartment and went straight to the train station. He asked for one of the workers there when the next train to Changing Kingdom would go, and he said with the next in the afternoon, around 2 p.m. And shortly at the time, Black Tornado was on the train all the way waiting for the Changing Kingdom. He was thinking to himself, what am I doing? Should I even be with her? Was she even serious about her being in love with me? Or was this just something to make me feel guilty? But he then realized his love for her was too strong, and he could actually see when she told him that she was serious about her feelings for him. When the train arrived at the train station at Changing Kingdom, almost 2 hours later, he was greeted by a changeling's worker, and he asked the particular changeling if Chrysalis had returned, and he said yes. And he asked him where he could find her, probably at the hive. He said. So Black Tornado, he flew all the way to the hive, asked around for Chrysalis, but when he found her, she was just crying. Chrysalis. She turned around, looked, and saw Black Tornado. Before she could say anything, please, please come back to me to Trondheim. And she asked why. Cause I love you. I will listen now. I am in love with you. And you were the soulmate that I have been looking for. And before she could say anything, he actually kissed her. And she kissed him back. And even after all this happened, she decided to actually go back with him to Trottingham the very next day. And they became as a couple. But when he actually introduced her to his family, they were just happy that he had found some pony, or at least some pony that he really loves the most. Even there was actually a changeling, but since they had accepted his Chrysalis as Black Tornado's friend, but now as his girlfriend. And only at the same time, though, when Heartwarming Eve approached, he actually had something in mind to ask her. When he took her to the park, he actually had hanged up a mistletoe above them. and she didn't see it at first, though. But when she did see it, she smiled and blushed, and they even kissed each other. But then he actually even showed a ring and asked her if she wanted to marry him. He said that his love for her was so serious and that he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. And what she could do was the only answer was a yes. Even most of his friends were a little surprised that they actually got engaged after only being together for almost a few months. They thought that he was rushing into a relationship or into marriage so soon, but he told them it was serious and that no matter how long, even if it was only a week, 2 weeks, a year, he would still would have asked her, no matter how short time they had been together. But they decided to wait with the wedding until at least the next year, around summer. They had invited all their friends, like Twilight and other and her friends, and even Discord. And even at the wedding, though, it was just the most perfect day both can ever ask for. They had even been offered a paid trip to Las Vegas by his parents and Twilight for help, so they can be there for a whole week, which they both of them were so grateful for. They went to Las Vegas for a week, and they had this amazing time. But shortly afterwards, when they came back, they went back to their normal lives. Black Tornado as a gardener, and Chrysalis working at a flower shop as she did before. And just only 3 years later, Chrysalis announced to Black Tornado that he was going to be a father, which he took it very happiness. And they even had 2 daughters of their own, the first pony changeling hybrids. But only when the twin daughters were about 5 years old, they actually had another baby, a son. And that's how Black Tornado, Chrysalis got found a true love and got a big family. The end.